Welcome to Read Your Comics, and today I'm looking at the first Dale Keown on Hulk. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Daryl. I'm the host of Read Your Comics, and we are getting to start a new era of Hulk with this issue with new artist Dale Keown. Now, he's only going to do this issue, and then he's going to take an issue off, and then his real run is going to start. But this is the first time he gets to do Hulk. All he had done for Marvel to this point was a single issue of the series Nth Man. So Marvel taking a big leap on a young artist to not only pick up on a popular title going on, but to put him on as a full-time penciler going forward. But before I jump into the inside, I do want to take a quick look again at all the covers here by Walt Simonson for this storyline. And something that you don't really pick up on when you're just reading them one issue at a time is kind of the theme he had going throughout the whole process. So this one, we're starting with a full-size Hulk, really leading the charge in the confrontation with the Abomination here. And going into part two, the Hulk is already looking a little smaller, more diminished, and taking a hit from the Thing on this one. Then even more scrawny looking, practically Bruce Banner as the leader is hitting him with a mind blast. Finally, on this last part, it's full Banner, trapped inside the hourglass, which of course has been a theme, revealing it a little bit on each part too. You get a little bit more of the hourglass until it takes the forefront. And our villain, Madman, who was introduced in this storyline, but we haven't really had to deal with him through these first three parts. So if you've missed any of these parts that I've already covered, be sure to hit up my playlist up here for the Peter David Hulk run. This story and all the way back to the beginning of Peter David's run with McFarlane and everything is in that playlist to this point, maybe more depending on when you're watching this video. And as always, your likes, comments, and shares are much appreciated. And if you're new to the channel or just haven't done so already, please hit subscribe so you never miss another video in the future. Go ahead and hit like now too so that you don't forget to do that after the video ends. Let's get into some Dale Keown art. You ready? Right off the bat, we have a muscular yet scrawny Hulk at the same time. Look at his face right here, how gaunt he's starting to look. New countdown timer, the Jeff Purvis one that had kind of a frame around the Hulk's head, but now we're getting this stretched out, skinny looking Hulk instead of that frame around him. So my initial thought on this is I'm seeing Bernie Wrightson influence on this particular issue. I'm seeing John Byrne influence with the technological paneling in the back. But it's definitely a departure from what McFarlane started doing. And then Jeff Purvis kind of kept a lot of the same features that McFarlane was going for, maybe a little less noodly. But this is going to be a big departure for the Hulk, the way he's drawn going forward. We got Mary Severin still doing the inking on this. Now, I don't think she continues to be the inker going forward, but it's kind of interesting to see this transition because she was working so well with Purvis those last few issues, and here she is still doing the inking on Keown's first issue, and I'll have to look as we go. I can't remember if she inks going forward, but I don't think she does. So we see our countdown timer is already down to just a little over an hour. The Hulk has apparently been kind of catatonic since we left him off in the last issue. Now this leader head looks awesome. You know, he gets that McFarlane popcorn Jiffy Pop head a lot better than Purvis did on that last issue for sure. And this is feeling more Wrightson too. Just the way the body is contorted, the way the body is positioned, the arms like drooping down. That's where I feel like I'm seeing some of that Bernie Wrightson influence, some of the shadowing and stuff too. And it works for the Hulk. You know, we haven't got a ton of Bernie Wrightson Hulk over the years, and it's nice to see that he's probably pulling a little bit of influence into his work here. And he's doing a really good job with storytelling from the get-go. In fact, I was reading a thing about Peter David saying that Keown is one of the top 3 artists he's worked with, period, that he felt like really captured what he was writing and put it on the page. better than most. So in a rare instance, the weakened Hulk is having to dig deep into his mind to talk to Banner. And Banner says, "Now that's a first." And I guess they're having like a talk right here. You see the Hulk, his eyes move just a little bit there. And now the Hulk's going to go over and type on a computer to try to figure out what exactly is going on. And he's trying to crack the password here. And he's coming up with like leader, like Gamma. He's like, what was his name? What was his real name? Of course. And just then, timing is perfect. The leader walks in. The Hulk gives a thunderclap that knocks him back just enough. And I mean, great cartooning panel flow already from this guy that's barely done much comic work at all, particularly for a big company like Marvel. But I like the slanted angle here to just get a little side of his face, the hiss. Now, we're going to miss some of that Jeff Purvis lettering. This is kind of average lettering, this Thum. Purvis probably would have done something to like work that into the panel a little bit better. So, going to miss out on some of that stuff, but what we have coming before us with this run is, well, I'm just excited to talk about it as we move forward. So now the Hulk is going to confront the leader, and this is where he's going to find out exactly what's going on, why he was poisoned, who poisoned him, and the connection to the leader. So Phil Stearns is the guy that was working at the lab that poisoned Banner, and it turns out that that is the leader's brother. Now the leader tells the Hulk that this Madman character is using his brother as more or less like a slave. And then we get some like retconned origin where Phil Stearns was a classmate of Banner's in graduate school. He tells him not to try to remember who he was because he was most forgettable. Banner was at the top of his class and Phil Stearns was at the bottom, and they probably didn't really interact very much until Stearns saw Banner at the lab and recognized him and thought he could, get a little boost to work his way up the chain. Of course, the Hulk is skeptical about all of this and wants to know how he knows he's on the up and up. So the leader decides to tell him, look at the paper next to Betty in the image. That's where she is. She's in a town in Connecticut. So at this point, the Hulk agrees to go and try to save Phil for the leader, his brother, and kill Madman in the process so that he can save himself. Man, look at that head. Look at that leader head right there. I gotta say, I think that I like this version even better than the way McFarlane did it, quite honestly. So the leader uses his transportation device, just like Star Trek, and sends him right outside Phil's apartment. This is feeling like Wrightson Monster storming through the door here too. Just more and more I get that vibe coming through. And maybe that's some of the Mary Severin inks adding to that a little bit, because the printing mixed with her inks on this, it's not quite as clean as I think we'll see in the future issues with Keon. There's some of that kind of meh lettering again. I'm guessing this isn't Keon lettering. I'm guessing this is probably the letterer putting this in. And you notice our timer, it's going down quick now. 53 minutes, 47 minutes as the Hulk tears up the apartment. 46, 44, and he finds a secret passageway. Great work on this cave with the stalactites and stalagmites, and it just flows really well. It really sets the scene well. And again, this feels very John Byrne with the machinery here. So these are the influences I see in Keon as we go forward. And, I didn't notice that stuff as a kid reading this, but I've read this run more than once. And after I kind of became familiar with Byrne, I started really seeing the influence of Byrne in Keon. And I'll try to point it out more and more as we go. So all of that gets our timer ticked down to just 11 minutes left. Now this is kind of messed up. I think this is supposed to be a 9 because on this next page, it's going to go back up to 8 minutes. So I think there's like something got lost in the inking process, because that looks like it's down to a 550, but you'll see in just a minute. So Madman reveals himself. This costume is not the greatest, and it's fine because we're not going to see him in it for very long. I mean, this very much is like a Joker, or a jester or something, and That's not quite what this character is. So it turns out that he can grow and become a big muscle bound character himself. I mean, look at that. Look at that, like musculature. This is where Keon excels as far as like it's anatomy, it's correct anatomy that's exaggerated enough to cross that line between realism and what we kind of would want to get out of our comics here. So here the timer's back up to 8 minutes. And this Madman is he's just gigantic, especially compared to our Hulk that's growing weaker and weaker with every single minute that goes by. Now, he still has a lot of muscle on his bones. Even though he's getting smaller, he's still quite muscular. But the Hulk's just going to take a beating right here. And this Madman character just seems to be even bigger. He's throwing the Hulk. He's ripping stalactites from the ceiling and whacking him with it. Again, missing some of the lettering. This sound effect lettering after everything that Purvis had done. This is the closest we're getting to what Purvis had been doing. It feels kind of weak in that regard, but I'm willing to give that up in favor of some of the other stuff going on. This feels like a Byrne type pose too, even the way it's drawn. And the Hulk even looks smaller here. And he's practically just a skeleton now as he's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Look at that face. Look how sunken in it is now. It's just almost just the skull. You see that thick brow still. And just as you think the Hulk's done in, all of a sudden, Phil Stearns shows up. And it gives the Hulk a chance to catch his breath, but we're down to 4 minutes. So timer's really getting to the end right here. And the Hulk is like, "Oh, you're Phil. Your brother says hi." "My brother Sam? But Sam is dead. Some sort of radiation accident, we were told." "Oh, Sam. He's good at telling lots of things and leaving things out. Like, for example, that unless you and Madman both happen to have a thing for ripped clothes, you and he are the same." Which is actually the reason that the leader didn't want to be the one to just step in and kill Madman himself, because it is his brother, and he said, which he didn't tell the Hulk this, he said it to his followers after the Hulk had zapped away, that even he draws a line at killing his own brother. But it's like a split personality thing, because he puts the potato sack back on and starts talking as Madman instead of Phil, and kind of explains his origin here. Kind of says like he was jealous of Banner, wanted to recreate what Banner did, and exposed himself to radiation, doing kind of the same thing that like Sasquatch did. And of course it turned him into Madman, drove him a little crazy, and also turned him into this monster that he turns into. But we're down to 2 minutes as the Hulk can take on a little Phil for a second. And it makes me wonder, it's like, why did he even change back? Phil exerting a little control over the Madman persona, or can he only stay in that Madman form, that big hulking form, for a few minutes? I don't know. It doesn't really explain that in this. It just kind of gave you the MacGuffin to get the Hulk out of it. Because otherwise, the Hulk was done for. He was just going to get beat up until this timer runs out. So now we're down to 2 minutes, but Phil says the antidote is over there. There's the poison, and the antidote is over there somewhere. It's like you always make an antidote because in case there's an accident, you accidentally infect yourself. You want to make an antidote so that you can cure yourself, right? And then they're going to go back and forth. Phil and Madman are going to fight for dominance as puts the mask back on. And this mask, it's funny how it takes a shape. And I said it looked like Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas before, and it's definitely got that feeling there. You see how big it is. I mean, Sam would have to be looking out of the mouth to see out of it. Like the eye wouldn't be there, unless just he transforms his head inside it. He pulls it off, puts it back on. He's like growing big and small. I imagine he's like kind of fluctuating, transforming back and forth. We're down to 1 minute when all of a sudden you see a slap on the back. And the Hulk, who's looking all scrawny here, has infected Madman now. and he just hits the Hulk away, and he goes to mix up the antidote. And as he's going to do it, then the Hulk can charge in. And look, we're getting down into the final seconds, 24 seconds, 23 seconds. And then there's a scrum as it goes falling away. 17 seconds, 14 seconds. The Hulk is able to get it. And as he's trying to jab it in, he can't, even in his weakened condition, he can't penetrate his skin. He says he's going to have to time it just right for when he turns back to Banner. 13, 12, 11. Now Madman's grown again and put a cape back on in the process. I guess he took a second to put some clothes back on, or at least his cape. And they're still fighting for it. Reaching. They both want it at this point. You get down to the 1 second. We got some ads. It's like watching a TV show. And Banner's able to get it in. But now he's all weakened by the poison and just kind of laying over there to the side. And he says, "You won't let me die. Hulk would, but not you, Banner. That's it. The civilized Banner. I killed Phil. Tried to kill you. But forgive and forget. That's your motto. That's Banner, you fool. I can't reach it over there. What are you?" Your countdown has begun. And as he walks out, Madman continues to curse the Hulk. So Dale Keown's debut. We get Sam Keith next issue. Look, they're already using Dale Keown's art for the subscription page. Isn't that wild? It's a pretty good debut. I find it odd that it was at the end of the story, though. It makes me wonder if, did Purvis get a job outside of comics that he had to just kind of leave semi-abruptly, or was it a planned exit? I don't know. I mean, this doesn't look like a phoned-in job. Like they were like, "Hey, we need somebody to do this book. Get that kid off the Nth Man fill-in and have him over here on Hulk for this fill-in." But the fact that it was just like a single issue, and then we do get a fill-in with Sam Keith, and then we're going to get our Keown run. It makes me wonder how the logistics of him being brought onto the title are. Either way, we're getting ready to start the Keown run after the next issue, and it's going to be a fun ride. So stick around. Until next time, read your comics. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed my breakdown of this issue, you can support the channel by hitting subscribe. It costs you nothing and helps other comic fans find the channel. You can also visit readyourcomics.com for cool merch, like this. Read Your Comics isn't just a brand, it's a mantra. And when you wear a Read Your Comics shirt, you are helping spread the word. For more classic comics conversation, be sure to follow me on Instagram at read.your.comics. And if you're still here, why not watch one of my older videos? Here or here.